16 years. That was the miracle at the Meadowlands, you know, the Deshaun game. Sorry, Giants fans, but this one had a lot of grit in it, too, for the Eagles to get to 3-0 and 17 consecutive wins in Jalen Hurts starts. It's one of those weeks, fellas, the collective consciousness of the NFL. A little off kilter. We got field goals blocked. We've got game-winning kicks. We got a little bit of everything here in week 3. But as we assess what we saw, maybe the final score points to something we expected in the Eagles and Rams. Tight fought, high scoring, but the way we got there was wild, Max.
Hey, in the words of Jalen Hurts, is that what y'all wanted to see? Right? I don't know if he's going to do that during his presser, but we've seen him do that before. And yes, they needed to get punched in the mouth. They needed to get punched in the stomach because they were kind of just cautiously going through the moments of this ball game in the second half. And when they finally got behind, something clicked where the offense, in terms of the passing game, it came alive. A.J. Brown threw down the book and started making big-time plays. Smitty, everyone was showing up to the party, and it started with their point guard, and not Allen Iverson, but Jalen Hurts. I mean, Ben, you talked about the stat. How many yards did he have in the first half?
18 yards or something?
18. He finished with 226.
Totally different team.
3 touchdowns. And in a day in which Saquon Barkley was a pedestrian to his level. 46 yards, he averaged 2.6 yards per carry. That's not Saquon Barkley-ish. But guess what showed up, was Jalen Hurts, and we cannot forget about the special teams unit. You showed that game-winning block, but they also had an earlier block in the second half as well. I don't know if it was Jordan Davis who blocked that one, but they had 2 blocked, makeable field goals that led to this win.
Ben, I think what we're talking about here is adjustments within the game. The Eagles doing it at a championship level, just like they carry themselves in most things here. Where did you see the adjustment, or was it just looking in the mirror, looking at the guy and said, we're the darn Eagles, let's go score some points?
Yeah, at halftime of this game, Jalen Hurts probably went in, had a banana, had a protein waffle or something, said, I gotta take this game over in the second half, right? To your point, a day where Saquon kind of pedestrian, not necessarily what we expect from him, right? If you're Jalen Hurts, go take the game over. That's what we've been looking for him to see after the first 2 weeks, right? Kind of start for Jalen Hurts, right? No turnovers, not a lot of touchdowns, high completion percentage, but today in that second half, concerted effort, get the ball in the air, get the ball in his hands, let him make the plays, and they surely did that.
I mean, being down 26-7 in the third quarter, and the Philadelphia Eagles, defending Super Bowl champions, you know, there was an announcer who said, you know, some teams, they don't win all that interestingly. The Buffalo Bills do, when they were on that call. And everyone thought that he was talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, the Philadelphia Eagles said, all right, we'll win interesting. We'll do it for you right here. This is one of the better comebacks that we're going to see in an early NFL season. What I look at especially is, to your point, Jalen Hurts taking over, because we have talked for the first 2 weeks. Jalen Hurts does not care how he wins.
He doesn't.
He just wants to win. He doesn't care. You know, when Chris Jones was like, oh, you barely have 100 yards, he's like, we're winning the game.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. And then if you take Jalen Hurts' second half here, just really remarkable stuff there.
Second largest comeback win at home in Eagles franchise history, down 19 in this one, but not out. A win in the end for the Eagles, who improved to an undefeated 3-0. A look at Jalen Hurts on a specific time against a specific team. Sundays against the Rams. It's 20 points here in the second half. 17-24. We had questions of when this passing game would come to life. Well, there's your answer. A win at home against the Rams. All right, back in studio with the guys to assess what we saw there and so much more coming down the pipe here as the 1 p. Eastern window draws to a close. Mac, these are your Steelers here. I couldn't get a feel for them for about a half an hour, but it feels like they came out of the locker room with a little bit more juice than they took to the road on. What do you take away from this performance?
This was a much-needed win, especially in terms of defensive effort. What we witnessed with the Pittsburgh Steelers the first 2 weeks was horrendous in terms of getting significant stops and, most importantly, being better against the run. Remember what the Jets did week 1. They ran the football up and down against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The same was said with Kenneth Walker and the Seattle Seahawks just last week. So when you look at their effort defensively, especially against the Patriots running game, they did a better job, not to mention forcing turnovers. We saw 5 turnovers forced by the Pittsburgh Steelers, 2 in which happened in the red zone. If you want to learn the best way to lose a ball game, create turnovers, have turnovers in the red zone. That will put you in a position to lose. And that was the telling sign for me in terms of the Pittsburgh Steelers walking out of Gillette Stadium with a win.
Ben, you got a young quarterback there in Drake May. It's an offense that couldn't find their flow, couldn't possess the football on that side of the ledger in this one. What is the coaching point coming off of this when you still have a quarterback trying to figure out what he's seeing?
Yeah, when you look at this New England Patriots offense, I think the biggest thing for them today is they shot themselves in the foot too many times, right? 5 turnovers, couple fumbles. Drake May tipped ball down there, near the goal line. They got intercepted before half. But if you're the Patriots, staff, offensive coordinator, head coach, you've got to like the way Drake May started the season. Much improved from last year. Taking care of the ball, spreading the ball around, getting these guys involved. But if you're this Patriots team, you got to feel like you let one slip a little bit today.
It was the running backs unable to hold the rock. You do mention the red zone giveaway by Drake May right after we saw a play that might have in other instances had him taken off the field. He does stay on the field there. And for the remainder of the game, JJ, take us wherever you're pleased here, because I think 2 great points made on the quarterback. And then on the Pittsburgh Steelers side, this was a game that TJ Watt needed to see as well.
So TJ Watt finally came alive, right? And it was what we have been waiting for and looking for from TJ Watt. I'm an AP voter on all the big awards. And I remember about midway through December, it was like I wanted TJ Watt to be Defensive Player of the Year. He just needed to get a sack somewhere in there. He wound up losing that award to Pat Surtain II. And so now he's starting to round into form, $41 million per year. He needs to. On the other side of it, and I think Ben really hit on it there with the New England Patriots, you had so many opportunities there in the red zone. You had Drake May's interception there, and B-Mac and I were talking about as we're watching the game, why are they not running the football one time in the minute that you have it down there at the goal line? They did not do that. Ramondre Stevenson could not be trusted today. He had 2 fumbles on the day. Last year, he had 7 fumbles. I was a little surprised, Joe, that after the first fumble, with a new head coach in Mike Vrabel, that he didn't just bench him. He didn't say, we got Travion Henderson. We're not putting up with this in a game that is going to be a low-scoring game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They did not do that. They got burned by him again. That's going to be an issue this week in Foxborough.
Vrabel, we know, baptized in a world of ball security, even though he played on the other side of the football, but the Patriot way is something they're trying to return to. Mac, when it goes like this for an offensive unit, where a defensive unit kept them in the game, we never want to pit units against each other, but that does happen in locker rooms sometimes. What's the discourse after a game like this where you created the turnovers on the offensive side and defensively, all you could do was be out on the football field for as long as they were?
Adversity creates leadership, especially in the game of football. When things are not going well on the football field for either side, the leaders got to step up and emerge, right, and get the troops back together. And that's something that we didn't see today. You got to understand something with this new staff, this new regime. They're trying to create a culture there. The players that were a part of the New England Patriots last year, the only culture they know is losing culture. So, and I say this week in and week out, before you learn how to win, you have to learn how not to lose. And that has been the issue for the Patriots going back to a year ago. And guess what? That surfaced today because, to Ben's point, I'm a Steeler, no question. But they gave that game away when you talk about having costly turnovers inside the 5-yard line. Worst case scenario, when you're in that situation, you kick 3. Worst case scenario. We all know what the best case scenario is. And in those 2 moments, they squandered away scoring opportunities. To your point, in a low-scoring game, 3 points is like a touchdown.
That's right.
In those moments. It's
6
golden.
points is gold.
Facts. And they just let it slip through their fingers. They got to get that not losing mentality, but learning how to lose out of the building.
What'd you say about 3 points? Sometimes it could win a football game. Well, 3 points just won a football game as we take you to the finish between Cleveland and Green Bay. What we thought might be a game that hung in the balance a little longer than it should have as we